All right, you guys, let me show you how a professional removes drywall.
Dad. I don't think that's how you're supposed to do it.
What are you talking about? That's how they do it on HGTV.
You do you.
Okay, so yes, contrary to popular belief, the best way to remove drywall is not to smash it into a million tiny pieces and then start swinging indiscriminately at the framing members. Yeah, you kind of want to leave some of this stuff in place, and it's nice to take the drywall off in as big a piece as you can. It's easier to handle, easier to dispose of, makes less mess. So I'm going to show you guys how to do that. And you know, it took a couple takes to get this right. So, and my kids wanted to hit some holes in the wall after. But yeah, let's get to it, okay? I'm going to be doing this the way that most of you guys will be, which is with a knife. There's multiple ways to cut the drywall. I'm going to be doing it the slow, and I was going to say slow, painful way. Let's hope it's not painful. But anyways, so this is the Franklin sensor. These are fantastic. I bought this for my wife because she's always looking for studs, and that sounds bad.
I bet that's a stud.
Yeah, it's a stud for sure. That was the first hit where it didn't go through. Okay, yeah, see, you can see it just shows it so well, right? At 1.5 inches width, it's really clear to find where the middle is, but I need to open up more because we want to go to roughly around here. So I'm gonna pick right about here, and we're gonna cut the drywall there. So plumb up to get a nice, perfectly straight up and down line. And you can mark it like that, but it's actually easier to get a nice sharp knife and just do a simple score. So I'm not cutting very hard. I'm just putting a simple score in there that I can follow more in a bit. But at this point, you can now just push a little bit harder. So if you're actually on a stud, a framing member, one of the things that's gonna get you doing this is you're gonna start hitting the screw heads or nail heads. So I'm not even convinced that I'm actually on a stud yet. So you just keep making multiple passes here. I like this method because I feel like it does the cleanest job. Once you're about halfway, like 1/2 inch in, you can kind of see, right there, that's about 1/2 inch. I'm not sure if I mentioned, I feel like I was about to say it and got distracted, but the more straight your cuts are and the more plumb and level your cuts are, the easier it is to cut a new piece in because it's going to be totally square. You're not going to have to be cutting a trapezoid. So this is one way to do it, right? I do this way the most because, I don't know, old habits die hard. It's not the fastest or necessarily the most effective. I'm not cut all the way through, but it's cut through enough that it's going to break. I'll show you guys another method when we start going across here. So you don't have to break it on a stud like I did on that side. You could choose the middle of the wall cavity. I'm gonna do the stud on both sides because it's easier when it comes to framing it again, and you don't have to use as much lumber because you're using what's already in the wall. And as we could see, we got something right here, which I'm not surprised, because if you look at an electrical box, 9 times out of 10, there's going to be a stud on one side or the other. In this case, it's obviously on this side. It would be nice to cut down the center and just throw in a piece of plywood, but I'm gonna continue to do it this way, again, so that I don't have to go buying more unnecessary 2x4s. Also, it's good to know the age of your house because the older the house, the more likely there could be asbestos in the mud if you haven't done a test. So here in Canada, I'm pretty sure they make you test anything older than 1990. You gotta know. We're in the clear here though. Okay, the oscillating tool is a very common choice for people. It doesn't make too much dust, but it does make some, so I'm gonna wear a mask. But you guys can see how this works. It also doesn't make as straight a cut as I do with a straight edge and a knife. Okay, I'm going back to the knife just because it's quieter, makes it cleaner, not faster, but cleaner cut. There is a third tool though that I actually made a video about one time, and I'm sure some of you guys are like, Ben, I bought that tool from that link and you don't use it. I'm disappointed in you and I don't trust you anymore. Actually, that's the best tool. It's a Makita tool that's basically like a jigsaw with a little blade to cut into the drywall, and it doesn't go deeper than the drywall. Seriously, if you have to do a lot of cutting into drywall, best tool, hands down. Link in the description. I'm not using it because it costs like 250 bucks or something like that, and I don't demo enough drywall on a regular basis to buy it. But people like plumbers, electricians, like Redison, who I work with, they own 3 of them. They've got one in every vehicle. If you cut out a lot of drywall, like I don't do renovations full time. I did so much drywall over the last few years, but I wasn't doing the part, I was just patching it, right? I was just coming in after. So I didn't have to use one, but seriously, let me know in the comments if you do use one of those little Makita drywall tools, if you use an oscillator or if you just do it the slow, painful way like I am right now. I don't mind the oscillating tool. The steadiness of it sort of depends on the operator. I was rushing, and the faster you go, the more wavy it gets. So if you want to have a straight cut and you don't want to cut yourself, then just make sure that you don't try and cut too much material too fast. I feel like I can hear my kids screaming and fighting in the background. Is that what's happening? It's precious. Okay, so this is deep enough that we probably can start yoinking it off. I always have a flat bar. Glazier's bar is a must for removing drywall. It's just the easiest tool to slip in between the framing and the drywall. You also might want to take this out first. You want to know what another great tool is for this? This is not a great tool for that. Screwdriver, that's like 15 feet away. My wife suggested screwdriver. Absolutely not. I'm a professional here. These also make a good paint can opener. Then again, so does the screwdriver. It's pretty simple. In this case, this is easy, right? We can just get into here from the side. But sometimes if you don't have that luxury, like especially here where we're on a stud, I can't get in there at all. Sometimes you actually will have to like bang a hole in there so that you can get your hands in and pull it out. But in this case, this is easy. And once I get going, I'm gonna put my mask back on again. I'm gonna try and find somewhere that's not too screwed in at first. And I could just start ripping this stuff out. Of course, I'm trying to do it and keep it in as big a piece as possible, but that's not going to be the option here. So we're going to start.
Why do you want to keep it together? For reinstall?
Not for reinstall. It just makes it easier to get rid of, and you're not picking up as many little pieces. So I can hinge it off my cut here. And once you can get in behind it, provided that they haven't scabbed together a whole bunch of little pieces like they did right there. See, there's a patch, there's somebody. Look, that's what I do. I'm the patch guy. Now I'm removing a patch. I love that this is coming out not in big pieces, even though I made such a big stink about pulling it out in big pieces. But you can see we're right along the stud. It's going to be really easy to refasten. I'm going to put my mask on, rip the rest of this off, okay? Voila! All right. Last but not least, we have the drywall prep. And this one is really what separates the good contractors from the bad, or I can tell if it's a homeowner that did the prep or not. Some homeowners are good, but most of them, they just don't quite understand what you need. When you're removing drywall, it's with the intention of putting it back on eventually. So you gotta make it possible. Even the little things, like down here, this sort of stuff, a lot of people just leave that, but nope, it's gotta come out. Right? Your board's not gonna sit as flat if you don't remove stuff like that. And you know, there's always the hard spot. So often people, a spot like this, they're like, oh, too hard, too annoying, I'll get to it later. And I get to the job and then I'm having to do this while I'm hanging drywall. So yeah, it's pretty disappointing. You know, you just gotta get in there one way or the other and get the work done. It's not that hard, but it's got to get done. All right, there's a lot of different ways to do it. There's a nail there. This kind of stuff is where the nail bar comes in handy. All right, clean it up. Make it nice. The better your prep work is, the better the job's going to be when you're done. This sort of stuff is usually pretty easy. We got a nail in there. More than one way to do it, but let me tell you, I have removed a lot of drywall. Sometimes the nail heads just break off. And you get something like this. Of course you can just pound it in, but it's always nice when people actually get all the nails out, especially if you're going to reuse the wood. So in this case, right? It's just knowing how your tools operate can make a big difference. That little motion is for getting the nail out. So sometimes it can be hard to get the nail to bite. You really just have to force it into the claw. So with screws, yeah, a drill is good, but a lot of the time you can just yoink them out like that. The other thing is screws are brittle. You can even break them off if you have to. But yeah, the prep. I can't tell you how many times I've come into a job and the prep isn't done properly. Even one screw will cause a problem when you're trying to hang the board. So when you think you're done, take your hammer and run it up and down. And if it catches on something, well, you left something in there. The last thing is once you rip the drywall off like this, it's usually not that well supported anymore. So it's a really good idea to throw some screws in to make sure that it's totally supported on all the edges. And that about covers it. That is your basic drywall removal and prep work. Well, thanks for watching, and as always, I hope your projects are going well, but I hope you're doing even better. Till the next one, you guys.